Alright, so 2 weeks ago, I made a video stating that I was going to GameStop to pick up the new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe for the Switch, which was a port from the Wii U game. And I was also going to buy a Nintendo Switch Pro controller and then do a review for it and try to throw in a little bit of a comparison for you guys with the SN30 Pro that I already did a review on previously that week. This is that video. First, let me just say, the Switch Pro controller has not taken away any love that I have for the SN30 Pro. The SN30 Pro to me is still a formidable controller. I think I would strongly recommend it still. I know I would strongly recommend it still to anybody starting off and want something different than the Joy-Cons and the grip. They're nice, but once you experience a different brand or a third-party controller, they kind of like fall to the wayside, and you use them at more of a third person or fourth player controller if you have that many players with you. I still strongly recommend it for $44.99. I think it's a great controller, worth every single penny. Probably a little undervalued at that price point. I think they could probably get away with paying more, but at that point they're selling like hotcakes, and I think this is throw it in your pocket and go with your system to your friend's house. You can put it in your backpack and not take up too much space. As soon as I unboxed it, I was thoroughly like impressed with the feel, with the ergonomics of the hand grip. They actually, to me, fit more comfortably in my hand than the PlayStation 4 controller does, which to me, up until this point, was the benchmark for just comfort in hand. I don't have huge hands, but I don't have tiny hands either. I've probably got what I would call average size hands. PlayStation 4 controller, to me, was always the most comfortable controller out there. I know a lot of people think the Xbox controller is way more comfortable. To me, it was just the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 3, 2, and 1 were just always just, to me, the preferred controller, the preferred way of gaming. When I unboxed the Switch Pro controller, it was just unbelievable how I thought, looking at pictures and hearing people's complaints saying it's kind of plasticky, I was like, alright, I'm gonna open this thing up and I'm gonna just, I was expecting it to be a really fancy Mad Catz or Nyko feeling controller. It's not like that at all. It's very comfortable. The buttons are very responsive. The D-pad is amazing. You get rid of this sorry excuse for a D-pad right here, these 4 buttons, which they work. I mean, especially with Super Mario Bros. I played it for like 30 minutes with that controller just to see how it was, and it wasn't terrible. It could have been a better experience, and this is how you get the better experience. You get yourself a Pro controller. The D-pad, very responsive. All the buttons responsive, nice and clicky. The inputs are registered right away. The shoulder buttons are just nice. It's weird. They're so quiet and just they feel high quality. I don't know the longevity of the controller yet. I purposely haven't even looked at videos or reviews on how the controller lasts over a while, because I want to find that out for myself, and I'll keep you guys up to date with that. Now, the comparison that I'm going to do is the comparison I was telling you guys about last week, which was going to be my real test, my real concern, was, remember when I said I had this controller hooked up to the system at the same time I had the Pro controller, the SN30 Pro controller hooked up, and I was experiencing a really bad input lag with the SN30 Pro. Now, my theory was that when you have the 2 Joy-Cons and the Joy-Con grips hooked up to the system, you do have one controller in your hand, but you're technically connecting 2 to the system already. So the system is trying to read 2 controllers that are acting as one, and then you're adding this controller to the mix, and I think this is the one that gets sacrificed with the input lag, and justifiably so. I also tried this with player 1 and player 2 in the same, or in flip-flopping the order with the Joy-Con grips to see if maybe that made a difference. Maybe it was just looking for player 1 before it was looking for player 2 with inputs. Still experienced the same type of lag. It got frustrating after a while. I was even getting like some button stuttering, where if I was holding forward to go play my platformers, I would start walking, stop, and then go. Same thing with sprinting. If I was holding down a sprint button like in Super Mario, I would start to sprint, stop, and then continue sprinting. So I feel like there was definitely an issue with that when you're pairing with the Joy-Con grip controller, because as soon as you hooked this guy up and you didn't have the SN30 Pro with the charge grip and you just had these two hooked up together, the lag on this went away. There was never an issue, there was never a stutter, there was never a moment where I wanted to jump and didn't and then died because of it at all. I think really what I was thinking with the whole, you're playing with two even when you're playing with the Joy-Cons, but really it's reading three, I think is correct. Because I have heard other reports of when this controller is hooked up to the system with two others, then you start to get really bad lag, which would make sense because now the system with this is really reading three controllers. With this, it's only reading two, and it solves the issue of the lag that I was experiencing. So with that said, I love the Pro controller. It has taken over my #1 spot. It is my #1 preferred controller on the Nintendo Switch. Even at the $70 price point, I think it's worth it. A lot of people have the concern that it's $5 more than even the more expensive PlayStation 4 controllers, and I think it's right on par with some of the Xbox One controllers that come with like the special colors or whatnot. But for $70, I think it's definitely worth it. I've seen it as low as $60 at Walmart, and I don't know if that's a sale price or not. When I went to Walmart, there was a price tag of $59.99. It was not a sale price tag or like an additional price tag underneath it that said usually $69.99, now $59.99. It was just a regular white stickered price tag on the controller saying new $59.99. I asked the employee there in the game section, hey, do you know if this is a sale price or do you know if this is the new adjusted price, like this is what it is from now on? And he says he's not sure, he can't say for sure or for certain, but based off of how it was labeled, he said it doesn't look like it's a sale, it looks like that's what the price is for the controller. So if it has in fact started to drop down to $59.99, I don't think it's because the controller isn't selling enough. I think it's because Nintendo really realized that at a $60 price point, you can justify saying the controller's $60 and so is our game, instead of why is the controller $70 and a game is a $60 or $50 or $40 depending on what you're buying. For it to be $70, I think was a stretch. I think what they realized was that the consumer really was going to need a controller after they realized that the Joy-Con grips weren't sufficient. So they were able to hit that $70 price point. I think they were super aggressive with it. I think it paid off well because it hasn't really shied too many people away from buying the Joy-Con Switch Pro controller. But dropping it down to that $60 price point, I think is going to launch it into sales numbers this year that we haven't seen in the last year and a half to 2 years that the system's been out. I think the Switch Pro controller will sell exceptionally well. And I also think what they're trying to do now is they're trying to separate the price point a little bit from their special editions. Like the Super Smash Brothers bundle one that came out, it was $140. It was $60 for the game and then $80 for the controller. I think they want to maybe separate the price point a little bit more to make that $80 controller look and seem a little bit more exclusive. But any game that I've played this with, I've put probably 5 hours of Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe on it. I've put probably 10 hours of Splatoon 2, and just yesterday alone I put another 5 hours of Mario Odyssey. Love the controller. I feel like it actually made me a better player in Splatoon 2, which I'll probably visit in another video and explain why. But if you have the choice and if you have the money for it, go for the Switch Pro controller. Make this your Player 2 controller or your Player 3 controller. There's still nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with an SN30 Pro. Even if you want to buy an SN30 Pro over a Switch Pro controller, go for it. Just be wary of that one issue, that if you use this with the Joy-Cons and the grip holder, you might experience some input lag. If you have it with the Switch Pro controller, and you're not going to have that issue. At least on my end, I don't have it, so I can tell you that you probably won't have it as well. The Switch Pro controller blew me away. I definitely recommend it. I will have an Amazon link in the description below. I've only been using the Amazon links in the last 3 or 4 videos that I've had, and already people are starting to order off of them, so thank you for the help. I appreciate that. If you guys can keep helping support the channel by giving a thumbs up if you liked it, hitting that sub button if you really liked it, and even if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Tell me why you gave it a thumbs down. I want to try to improve these videos for you guys. I know my editing is absolutely horrendous, and it's all choppy and blocky, and sometimes I just upload it straight raw just like I shoot it. Let me know what I can do to improve, and let me know what kind of content you guys want. I think I'm going to stick with the video games for a while because there's a lot to talk about that. And then we'll see where the channel goes. I still don't really know. I think it's kind of just going to be like a jack of all trades kind of thing. So that's it for today. Tomorrow I got another video planned, but you got to wait until tomorrow to see that. Only way to do that is hit the subscribe button and hit that bell icon, and you'll be the first one to know. Peace!